Bum, bum, bum. Ta-da. Probably gonna get rid of that. There we go. Let's go for a relatively clean screen on this one. Do we need to see my face? That is the question here. Do we need to see my face? I promise I did actually have this. Nah, fuck it. We'll leave it off. There we go. Nice clear screen. Male corporals. We don't play any CRPGs. Okay. There's going to be a lot of reading here, people, so buckle up. Das ist anything AB compiled and processed on the order of the most gracious Lord Captain Theodore von... I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Valancius? Yeah, Valancius sounded. Candidate satisfies the consequentity criteria. Bears kinship to the Lord Captain and is free for dynastic offshoot in the secure sector. Current location. Progenitors not specified. Gender. Male. Occupation before requisition. It's got to be a commissar. Nah, fuck it. Go Imperial Navy. For leadership and diplomatic skills, in-depth knowledge of Imperial history, primitive culture, environment, notable physical and athletic abilities, heightened awareness of surroundings. Forward. Age Imperial and basic combat training with Medicare courses and additional instruction. Demolition, so not Fortress World. It's on between 1 and 3. Go Forge World. Significant episode in my life. Currently got a marksman's rifle and a las pistol. Not my favourite weapons. Attacked by a pirate armada. Profit stock planet orbiting fortress. Forces. Quite a secret virtual time. Suicidal. idea what that's going to do. Several weeks have passed since they heard of Valencia's perished. On an ill-fated day, the Rogue Trader's ship was attacked by madmen hungry to capture the dynasty's prized possession, the Warrant of Trade. Fortunately for the thousands of lives who depend on the protection of their master, Lady Theodora's heir, and now the ruling one, Valencia's Lord Rogue Trader, I hope he changed her name at some point, fought off the villains and protected the dynasty's sacred relic. In his efforts to carry out Lady Theodora's last assignment, the Rogue Trader came up against a monstrous plot, which ultimately led to the death of the Imperial world. Rakad Minoris. By the God Emperor's will alone did the Rogue Trader escape with his life. When Rakad's star mysteriously vanished, leaving the cold darkness in its wake. One last desperate push, and Imperium's mantle hid the fleeing souls from the pursuing enemy. Nice. So shit got real pretty quick. However, testing trials still lie ahead. After several weeks in the warp, the Rogue Trader found himself in the fringes of the trade empire amidst scattered worlds, now lost in a cold void, at the whim of the ruling warp. The Lord Captain must forge new routes to planets conquered in the past and fulfill one of the covenants of the Warrant of Trade to restore that which has been lost. He generally don't fuck with Rogue Traders. Lord Captain, allow me to report our journey for the warp is coming to an end, Lady Navigator. Celio informs me that we have reached the point where we can translate it to real space in the Furibundus system. The Lady Navigator and her pilots are waiting for our mission to begin the versus. It's gonna be a lot of reading. I'm not quite sure I'm happy with the fact it's called the Furry system. The Furibundus system is home to Footfall. Only Imperial outpost will function wharf and at Cronus expense. The temporary sub begging you to have mercy on the machines worn down by the war and allow the servants of the Emissary to heal and avoid ship's wounds in the dark. I suppose. The prayers mission will take a few days, and as to require will be used to establish a connection with the worlds of your trade empire. Ragnar Stillas. Come on. Before you received a message that was previously adrift in the Immaterium, Master Zachary Wises was reported receiving an invitation. The Legion for Warhammer requests an audience with the Rogue Trader of the Von Valencius dynasty. According to Master Zachariah, the message was tinted with shades of pleading. I quote, apparently the Liege is anxious to meet as soon as possible. Footfall, the place where sin and sanctity go in hand. Reverend Harmonious Dolores Christ. I was slightly expect a visit from me. I imagine you'll be interested in me in talking to you as well, Rogue Trader. Probably. Hendrix, I will be leaving your voyage ship when we arrive on Footfall, Rogue Trader. Once that is done, consider the Lord Inquisitor's task complete. None of these look like a Lord Inquisitor, to be honest. Jesus. Conversation time, people. Hendrix, before I leave you, Rogue Trader, Hendrix produced a small device wrapped in velvet. I was supposed to deliver this to Lady Theodora, but considering the circumstances, I'm giving it to you. This is an elucidator? Something like that. A sacred machine that can translate the language of distant and lost worlds from Imperial Gothic. It is even capable of handling Xenos languages up to a point. There may be a flaw in translations, but the overall meaning should be clear. Talk to aliens, basically. Nice. Are you leaving us, Heinrichs? We'll call him Hendrix, it's gonna stick. The arrangement between the Lord Inquisitor and your predecessor was that I be transported to Footfall, no further. I dare not take advantage of your generosity and patience any more than I already have, Rogue Trader. Argentia, who is Reverend Who's that guy? He is the head of the Teresian mission of Footfall, and one of the most prominent clergymen in this sector, so he's going to be corrupt, body worships noble. Paying him a visit is a good thing for my loyal servant of the Emperor to do. Those high wishes. I assisted his mission before I joined Lady Theodora on her voyage, and needed his blessing to accompany the new rogue trader of the von Valentius dynasty. If you wish to have me aboard your voyage ship, I request we meet with the Reverend Hieronymus. I think that's gotta be him. It's gotta be the tech priest. No, it wasn't. He was like an astropath to me. They're not quite, because astropaths would have the third eye covered, middle of their forehead. Victoris Seriota. For abundance is valuable due to its close proximity to the moor, the gateway to the Imperium. The system is mostly known for footfall, the base of merchants, privateers and traders traversing the Coronis expanse. Additionally, the star itself is orbited by an Adaptus Mechanicus station, which is off limits to outsiders. Yeah, that's alright. We got a tech priest though, we should be alright. Pascal, Alter Templum Calaxis et 17. I had the honour of attending to this shrine for a few thousand cycles. I suggest you abstain from visiting it, as most tech brothers at the station are engaged in meditative calculations and should not be interrupted. Foreshadowing. What do I need to know about Footfall? It's the largest port and trading capital of the Coronis Expanse. It has a dockyard that will allow us to inspect and repair the void ship. It boasts its own astropathic choir, which is rare. The Coronis Expanse is a communications nexus, which means it would be heavily fortified. Mr. Lard. Right, not to mention pirate hideouts, smuggling caches, and forts belonging to a dozen gangs, groups, and factions. Sounds good to me. The Coronis Expanse Imperium relies on this as its outpost. The fringes of humanity's domain rarely resemble its central walls, but as long as Footfall serves the God Emperor, insofar as it can, it will be considered a citadel of the Imperium. Although I have heard that the thieves here are underwhelming, so that is the world corruption. Due to Footfall's remoteness, it has developed its own rules and customs. Many of the goods that can be acquired there would be considered heresy. The best kind. In the heart of the Imperium. Enough to warrant summary execution. Moreover, Footfall is the domain of the rogue traders who disregard certain Imperial laws by virtue of the warrants they bear. Yep. We can do shit others aren't allowed to. Footfall is just a brief stop. What next? As soon as we solve the issues plaguing the ship and establish contact with the key worlds of the Trade Empire, the time will come for your Menage a Session, the official ceremony of donning the mantle of the rogue trader. It is mostly a formality at this point. You already possess all the privileges granted by the warrant, and yet it is a major milestone in your personal history. The moment your name graces the list of heads of the von Valentius dynasty, we are looking forward to that day, Lord Captain. William Takara is a very peculiar young man. Consider your upcoming conversation a baptism of fire in Footfall's political arena. Such things are not spoken out loud by T.H. Lucas. Is the appointee of the Casbalasia mission? Well, the largest robber baron crime syndicate in the Calaxis sector. They specialise in cold trade. Fair enough. Xeno artifacts. The buying and selling of all kinds of xenoswash. Fair enough. Footfall was previously run by the Eligio, who did business with several criminal factions at once, but he suffered an accident. The reins of power were picked up by Vladian Takara, whose appointment benefits not only the Caspalesia, but also their most powerful ally in a Coronis Expanse, road trade Victorious Winterscale. See, you know he's going to be the problem simply because he's got the most normal sounding name. Madame is stiffly yet very cautious fellow. He does not usually beat about the bush and does not play mind games. Good. Perhaps more importantly, he is no fool. Fools do not rise this high in Caspilician hierarchy. Keep this in mind. You are a rogue trader, you stand above him in status and wield considerable power. Having said that, history has seen cases where the Casablancan barons crossed swords with rogue traders and emerged victorious. Do not forget that and remain vigilant. The Casablancan vile tech figures. As comes from this barks out the last word like profanity. Political tensions already showing through. Not you personally. He wishes to meet with the rogue trader of the von Valancius dynasty. Takara? I will work out how to say this name. Does not know about Lady Feodora's death and is simply seeking an audience with the powers that be. My gut is telling me that something must be very wrong on Footfall if our Astropaths managed to read such strong emotions in such an anodyne message. We have no information, Lord Captain. The broadcast from the Footfall Astropathic Choir was the only missive Master Zachary has received lately. Tell Lady Navigator I give her leave to make the transition from the warp into real space. When this begins issuing instructions, the massive ship appears to change. Her very word, the bridge is set in motion as hundreds of people start to prepare for the shift to real space. Measured chanting fills the corridors to safeguard the vessel. We all gonna die. One more thing, Lord Captain. No one at the station knows Lady Feodora's demise and your heritage, and you inheriting the title. Each Tucker will be informed. It is required to. We can use the document besides he is expecting a personal audience with the rogue trader, and he will not meet with an unknown person of unclear standing. However, there is still no matter of announcing an arrival. You can either arrive on the station with a proper pomp and ceremony, or choose to visit incognito. Probably incognito. Tell me in detail how these choices will benefit you. According to Footfall's unwritten laws, rogue traders enjoy special privileges that exceed even the power of the Liege. However, not everybody chooses to take advantage of them, depending on the situation. Arriving incognito will give you more room for manoeuvre, while an official visit will allow you to directly intervene in local affairs. Incognito. I should explain if you don't mind. According to the Incognito, every rogue trader arriving at the station has the right to veto any of the Legion's decisions. But there is a catch. The Kronos and Expanse is home to several influential rogue trader dynasties, and Footfall is where their interests intersect. Nice. Of course, it does not prevent certain persons, namely Mr. Winterscale, from suddenly pulling the strings in Footfall. If you as a new rogue trader start your career with an official landing and a parade in your honour, the other dynasties may see this gesture as a newcomer as challenging their spheres of influence. I don't see that as a bad thing necessarily. Old Man Windsale may take slight offence. Chorda will be put on her guard, but you have reason to prominence, and most people in the Kronos Expanse have not heard about Lady Feodora's departure yet. It must be made clear that the banner of von Valancius soars high as ever. Now back to the other guy. If I may, I would recommend arriving incognito. You'll have plenty of opportunities to savour the sweetness and the burden of power, but right now this is the last time you can take refuge in obscurity. This way your arrival will not draw much attention, and the people will treat you as a person and not the almighty sovereign, anointed by the Emperor. It could turn some situations to your advantage. I'm all for clandestine, to be honest. We're going incognito. It will be done, Lord Captain. With your gracious permission, I will return to my duties. Yep, get on with it. There's me. Fucking hell. This person's got life. Excuse me. The tall man before you appears to be woven from tendons of muscle. Blue veins are sleeking under his white, almost dove-coloured skin, and his scalp and chin are covered with coat of fair hair. His neck and shoulders are wrapped in wires that hint at the presence of neural connectors under the uniform. The officer's face seems to be scrunched in perpetual grimace of annoyance or anger, but he welcomes you with a respectful nod. Lord Captain, Chief Helmsman Raver at your service. I mean, that was a guess at who you. He was someone important, so he's someone important. Remind me who you are. I'm the Chief Helmsman, Lord Captain. I stand at the steering wheel of the barge, your vessel, and bark commands at the idiots who tend to the vital systems. In layman's terms, I'm the one who stops us from running into an asteroid or a disrupted gravitational well when we are travelling in the void. Nice. Are you controlling the ship in real space? If only in the warp too, but that's largely the navigator's job, so I can't take the credit. The warp is shit, no matter how many years I spend at the wheel. It keeps vomiting up something unexpected, so my task is simple. I watch the systems, follow the charted route, and make no fuss when the orders arrive from the navigation chamber. Sounds good. I keep my eyes peeled in real space. Gravitational velocities, void currents, hard radiation. That kind of rubbish is everywhere. Thank the Emperor, the organs on this vessel are holding up. And so far, we have been able to spot the dangers lurking in the void. Who are these idiots you're in charge of? There are too many to list them all. Tech priests from the engineering, voidsmen from the Orga decks, loiterers on the bridge. I will have every last one of them flogged. Everybody needs to be told. Needs being told what to do. Everybody needs to be disciplined before the ship can go anywhere. Or before it goes nowhere, which is much worse. I assume you talk to the navigator as part of your job. Brave man. Raven stares at you before blurting out, "Damn it, Lord Captain, to be perfectly blunt, I can't stop thinking. Where did you find this squirt? It's not like I met many navigators, but this Ocellular girl feels safe with this little princess playing a void ship through the warp. Though she's been handling it well, so I guess she delivers." You're voidborn, are you not? That I am. Born into a helmsman's clan in the bowels of for God's sake. Of a chartist vessel, studied the family trade until I was 15, and my entire kin were butchered in a mutiny by the lower hold scum. They spared the young ones, of course they did. Children we've implanted connectors make great navigational servitors. I wouldn't have it that way though, so I flicked into the rafters and spent time stalking them one after the other. Wait, Hunters, you got me talking up a storm. Anyway, yes, I am a voidborn. Finish your story, whoever. There's not much to tell. I gutted everyone I could reach and fled upwards to the middle decks. There was an Orga operation. That's where Orga operations took me under their wing. They have fostered. Excuse me. They have foster helmsmen of their own, you see. Nobody asked me any questions, so I stayed. I grew up, studied, became smarter, then ended up as junior helmsman a dozen years later. Danrock spotted me and lured me away, the cheeky bugger. Oh my. Tell me about the Voidborn. Lord Captain, I mean no disrespect, but you'd better to find someone with a knack for conversation like Toloman, the new Vox Master. I'm not a chatterbox. I deal with navigation. Let each of us do what we do best. I can see that you're not a egregious fellow. Jesus. Text. Raver's eyes twitches and makes the grimace on his face. Even up. Where have I wronged you, Lord Captain? Nah. On the contrary, it's the first time I've seen someone on the bridge who is not tripping over themselves to nip my boots. Yes. I like this guy. There was perpetually twisted mouth wiggles as if he was trying to smile. It's sinister rather than welcoming. Oh yeah, well, I am too surprised you're not ordering to have me flogged with insubordination. All the wonders ever cease. Everyone points at the cables around himself, connecting wires once again. It's a control panel. I become one with this ship, except the bloody clog. Excuse me. Except the bloody cogs messed up the wires. Stimulus injectors and connectors when they implanted them, twisted the wires the wrong way or burned something of my noggin. Anyway, I can't sleep. It just doesn't happen anymore. In 30 years of non-stop stimulators and splitting headache. Forgive me, I don't feel like being all smart as hot again. Shit, that's best. What do you tell about the other officers? Rapscallions. Love that word. That's what they are, each and every one. Take generous Denmark, the high-born weasel. He fawns over the officers, but some of the deals he makes would get him burned at the stake. He's signing up others to take the fall for him. One of my junior helmsmen was ferrying goods from Footfall for him. Got caught by the Sanshar. Ooh. And ended up in the Void Hatch. Dunrock couldn't care less. I think we're gonna kill Dunrock. The Voxmaster, relative of the deceased, told me he's no better. Cut off half of the communication channels the day she entered the office. She says the Vox systems are damaged and the engine room has no communication with other chambers. So how am I supposed to see the ship? Collect reports from cogs with the power of my mind? So you already have problems on the ship. First officer Mazarin, I can't stand him. Like every Navy officer I meet, he doesn't know a thing about our craft, but puffs himself up and tries to order people around. We had a few clashes before he left me alone. Thank the Emperor Lady Theodora trusted me more than the Essential in matters of helmsmanship. Then there's that woman. What is her name? Tlass? Lady Theodora brought her along whenever she went and looked what happened to her. I wouldn't be surprised if it turns out it was the witch that brought her to an early grave, just like the countless souls before. I don't understand why anyone would want that walking calamity on their ship. Though some disagree, they say she's friends with that young Tom, what he used to be. Tell me, do you like anyone at all? What kind of a question is that? I like you and Lady Theodora before you. Where would I be if I was making crack? It's about a rogue trader. I don't want to die just yet. I like this man. He's good. Main person. We'll get more exposition in a second. That in a minute. Oh my god. Much text. The tall middle-aged woman stares straight ahead, her gaze vacant as she rubs the implant at her temple. Her collar is undone, and one of the clasps is on the verge of falling off. Sensing your presence, it returns. Oidara. Or what out later. Her head towards you and offers you a crooked smile, even as her eyes look right through you. Get off my ship. Tell me about your abilities. What are you talking about, Lord Captain? You're a psychic, and pure psychics are typically granted the right to live with their Emperor's blessing. Have you ever been to Terra? She just says no for a few seconds and exaggeratingly rolls her eyes. Look, Lady Theodora couldn't care less if some Edhex measured my brains or not. It's not about the seal on your forehead, get it? It's about what's in your guts. If it's rotten or not, my gut's stronger than the adamantium on this here ship. And my implants are better than the ones they put in you on Terra. If they weren't, I wouldn't have lived as long as I have. Nora bares her teeth in a savage grin. If I don't know that word, I'm going to have to look it up. If February will gleam in her eye. I'm going to learn some words. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where do you come from? Yeah, an outlying world in the Heathen Stars region. Kronos expands. The deeper you go, the less visible the astronomical gets, and the less people know about the Imperium. The arrival of a rogue trader is the best thing that can happen to a world like that. The very best. Tell me about it. It's an out-of-the-way planetoid between two faint stars. In the era, a dozen local tyrants fight over 5 measly continents. They use everything they can to win, from poison to cycles. You know, I begins wringing her and shaking her hands. I haven't been there in many years, but there's nothing for me to miss. Trust me. But here on the ship is a different story altogether. I saw more wonders in my first year serving Lady Valancius than I've seen in my whole life on the hour. Like my first jump through the warp, I was in bed for 3 days. I felt like supernovas were exploding in my head. I only found out later that I'd gotten off easy. Just through the bulkhead in the bay next to mine, our whole team turned into... And the hour breaks off. Look at me rambling on, Lord Captain, paying no attention. Probably turned into warp spawn. You never finished your story about the first time crossing the warp. It wasn't like it was a very fun trip, Lord Captain, but look, if you want to be entertained, I am the woman for the job. I'll entertain you with one of the stories from my collection, no problem. But if you want to hear about the time I melted everyone in the bay next door, well, I just don't really want to go into the details in that one, alright? Okay. What did you do before you came to the ship? I embroidered wall hangings in the honour of our national heroes. Ha! I did the same thing I do here, Lord Captain, divining. Our rulers prized the ability to see into the future. Every psyker that could be found was worth a small fortune on the earth. There's no such thing as a peaceful life on the earth. People like me were especially sought after. Pick psychers up wherever they found them, buy kids off their parents, even just abduct them and take me, for instance. I got taken from my street game. The older kids saw me when they noticed there was something off about me. The warning dynasties at schools where they trained us, they beat us black and blue, and then they packed us off to serve. Some of us held on for a long time, but others didn't last. Not everyone's as smart and talented as me, you know. Some people crossed the line and were out of commission before their time. Vidar looks at you expectantly. Then, as though clarifying, she uses her hands to indicate a head exploding and laughs. How did you end up in the Rogue Trader's service? Theodora von Valancius paid a visit to the ruler I was serving at the time. I didn't know what the visit was for, and it's no business of mine anyway. Vidar squints as though she's peering at something far away. I can still remember the way the voices in my head changed when I looked at her. They were practically screaming. She had so much behind her, and plenty ahead of her too. And as I gawped at her, all of a sudden I heard a whisper. A hint, a suggestion, nothing more, but I know the difference between idle chatter and a real threat. I seized my chance and approached Theodora. I managed to whisper a couple of words in her ear before the guards dragged me away. They beat me and locked me up, no wonder. It wasn't my place to converse with outsiders. And then Theodora's people came for me. They broke down the wall, butchered the guards. All I could tell them was my warnings in full. So I said the rest, but I didn't want to go back to my old life, and so I entered the service of the von Valancius dynasty. Oh, stop warning. I want to know. Have you ever been off the ship? A few times, not many. I think about it. Why would I want to? I've got everything I need here. All the whispers I can hear are familiar ones. They almost feel like family. And if I want to hear about the nightmares of the ship, I can after summer. Amasek. Idra winces and rubs her eyes, but I'm getting the wrong idea. If I have to, I'll follow you to the edge of the galaxy. That was one game. What's it like being a psycho? Painful. Idra tilts her head to one side and listens closely to something. Lord Captain, forgive me, but it would be like talking to a blind person about colours. I could spend hours explaining it, but it wouldn't make any sense to you. Every psycho feels their connection with the warp in their own way. One person might see spots and shadows out the corner of their eye, the others may feel fingers running down their spine. As for me, I've got a door in my head, one that's open, just a crack. There's no way to close it, no matter how hard I try. I've just had to get used to it. The whispers on the other side. When I need to use it for work, I listen in more closely, but usually I just try not to notice it. How do you live with this whispering in your head? Training, habit, a little Amasek, and a couple other things you can get on the lower decks if you pull all those together. It makes things bearable. Idara shrugs and chuckles. Sometimes I even wonder if I'm imagining half the voices I hear. You know, when life on board gets a little boring, better than listening to the living anyhow. Yeah. What would happen if your door burst open? Uncontrolled psychic burst usually takes out anything in a city block. Idra chuckles, but there's a shrill, strained quality to her laughter. Well, if the door opens, that means somebody's planning to come in, right? But screw them, they're not coming through, trust me. I know how to keep my valuable head locked up tight. Only losers who are afraid of their own gift lose control, or idiots who never figured out what they are before it's too late. Or little kids who want to play around with their shiny new toy. If you don't know the limits of your abilities are always bouncing around in your own head, that's a recipe for disaster. Can you see my future? Idra wrinkles her nose and looks around as she wipes her hands, gives her head a shake and finally nods. Alright. That's what I'm here for after all, so I'm going to lean on that door in my head a little more, prick my ears up and listen to what the warp's got to say about you. Idara grins like she's already heard some salacious detail. And if you allow it, I can listen right now. Okay. Alright then, let's hear what they're whispering about you. Idara laughs, rubs her hands together and suddenly freezes with a vacant smile on her face, her head slightly tilted. You feel goosebumps appear on your skin, your colour begins to waver so slightly as if moved by a breeze from the half-open door. The yellow's light is sonorous and crystal clear, almost theatrical. An ancient world with a riven heart, finding a path to it, and its riches will be yours, but the paths there are two, and both will cloak you in disgrace and leave you as what it seems. What will you choose? Will it pray to the sin of the Imperium, or the sin of the dead gods? An alternative dimension of pure energy and matter, existing as a mirror in the real space, also known as the Immaterium. The Imperium, the ether, the sea of souls, or warp space. Bad time, basically. Continue. Another road. The road begins at the threshold of Cronus and leads to the bowels of the emerging world. It returns grey and begins gasping for breath. A foreign voice tears its way out of her rasping throat. A deep, heavy rumbling of a distant avalanche. Reading the threads of fate is not meant for you, slave of the enthroned corpse. Step into the embrace of doom, and thus was it preordained by the architect of fates. Demon intervention. It just sucks in a breath and coughs. Something pale and wriggling flies out of her mouth and hits the floor. White maggots that immediately melt and turn to smoke. That wasn't me, I swear on everything that's holy. I don't know what that second road is or who watches over it, but I beg you, stay away from it. Do you know Theodora von Valentius well? Lars shakes her head. None of the officers know the Lord Captain well, not even Abelard, and she was always closer to him than anyone else. She told me, excuse me, from the off that if I ever listened to anything in the warp about her without her permission, I'll be going out through the airlock. I'm not an idiot, so I never stuck my nose where it didn't belong. Only when I was asked. The dark gaze darkens as a strange otherworldly expression comes over her face. It's hard to wrap my head around the fact that she's gone. Lady von Valentius gave me everything I have. She opened the stars to me and the paths between them. I still think I can hear her voice. No, let's have a sharp breath. Shakes her head. Things are strained between you and Argentina, isn't it, Valentina? The little sister is afflicted with her own set of voices, ones that whisper to her about corruption and heresy. But I fall silent, and then in a different voice adds, the silly girl doesn't realise that if she wants to find the source, she needs to start by looking in her own head. The sister's psychic as well. Got a new story for me? You better do, Captain. Belle becomes much more animated and her gaze turns slightly dreamy as she recalls one of her stories. Fucking hell. Okay, so we went to Footfall once. Well, I mean, Lord Captain Fyodor went to Footfall a lot. But on that occasion she took me with her for some reason. But I had gotten off to a bad start. My head had been yammering since I woke up, but there was nothing else for it. I had to go. We arrived at the place. And what a place! All the gentlemen and ladies dressed to kill, showing off their encrusted implants all clustered around their tables. Well, it turned out it was a gaming den. And not just any gaming den, but one run by somebody with deep pockets for people with just such cash to splash. You should have seen it. People gambling away planets in a game of regicide. Anyway, so the Lord Captain wanted me to help her beat some guy, so I tell her that the chips won't land in your favour and you'll get a bad hand. Don't sit down at that table, Your Grace. But she did. But did she listen? Of course she didn't. If there's one thing she never lacked, it's stubbornness. So they sat down and the cards were dealt. I'm hovering around like I'm not involved, but I'm keeping my eye on things. And everything in my head keeps getting louder and louder. Anyway, it's a good thing I've realised in time that my mind wasn't going haywire over a losing hand, but something else. I made some excuse to drag the Lord Captain up from the table and took her away from the place. A few minutes later, the room where we'd been. You know, I can't help myself and burst out laughing. It turned out some wise guy had the same bright idea to bring a pet cycle along with him. One of those ones who just scuttle around in Footfall's underbelly, and the psycho just freaked out, I guess. After all the commotion, people went to see what happened in the room, and they'd all gone for each other's throats. Literally, with teeth. Weeping into it, wipes away and hit her, and I think they completely detached that asteroid from Footfall and pushed it off into open space so it would head off towards the little star. Time to go. Right, 45 minutes in and we've spoken to like 2 people. This is great. Right, bridge officer. I know I'm stood next to someone else who's got a name. Greetings, Road Trader. Cassie raises her chin and smiles politely. I'm always glad to have an opportunity to talk to you. Now, she's a navigator. That headdress tells me she's a navigator. I could be wrong. Tell me about yourself. Yeah. I am part of House Oreslio, an ancient dynasty of the Navis nobility. Since time immemorial, our family has served to advance knowledge, pushing the boundaries of the dark unknown. The stairway atlas contains 2,843 routes that chart the sectors, the segmentum obscurus, and reach all the way to from the Coronus Expense to Holy Terror. Listen in silence, because she can read my mind either way. And uniting the Imperium's thousands worlds, House Aurelius is bound by commercial pacts to House Galantius. Hornetar Doturus and Cassia hesitates. There is a dark blue knot tightening in your neck, Lord Captain. I can see my reply is not satisfying your thirst for knowledge. What is it you desire to hear exactly? So you can have lived anywhere other than Eureka 5. Hardly. According to the Chronicles of the House, I was born on one of the Celia worlds. Vertiverta, oh wait, what was it? Cassia absent. Robs her temples. Please forgive me, Lord Captain. My childhood memories are too vague. Sometimes I dream about the bright and colourful birds that built the nests in the garden, or the servants dressed in purple and ivory, or the blue fog that rolled over the lowlands behind the palace. Everything was covered in rosy haze. Perhaps my imagination, not my memory, is painting these pictures. Probably. Turn over to life on the station. The Stone Station was wholly dedicated to preparing me for my future duty. Astromancy, astrogeography, numerology, and the histories of my people and the Imperium. As well as other disciplines, dozens of instructors tirelessly prepare me for work's destiny had in store. And once a year, Regent Aralota would come to the station and entrust his beautiful vessel to my command so that I could master the practical aspects of our art as well. Do you have friends, someone you can turn to for a simple conversation, not a discussion of yet another lecture? Cassia blinks in surprise, obviously taken aback by the question. The Regent gave me a bird from a sunlit planet once. I tried to befriend it and make it sing, but for some reason it refused and died soon after. My instructors were too respectful of my duty to my house to waste precious time on idle chatter. Aside from them, there were only servants on the station. And you know they have their vocal cords removed so they cannot break their vow of silence. And since the subject has been breached, Lord Captain, why do you not follow this honoured tradition? Your decks are so garish. Apologise, I made it noisy. The rebel don't just chatter sometimes, they shout and even sing. Why did you allow such a lack of restraint? Rogue traders are highborn, are they not? Order cannot blame people just because it is our power to do so. On the contrary, it is the duty of every order to look after his subjects. Yes, you may find it difficult to believe, but the practice of depriving servants of their voice is not particularly widespread. I like the noise people make around me. It fills the ship with life. I'm gonna go 2. Sound amazingly blasphemous. If a ruler's duty dictates the need for violence, would dispensing it not be their responsibility? I will contemplate your answer in solitude. The third eye, do you always consider? Well, yeah, because anyone who's not trained will die. 40k Northway. The navigator's eye, open eye, is baneful. Wherever the warp's luminous shine falls upon, and therefore it is a symbol of our power. We are the guiding stars of humanity, found worthy of an uncommon gift, and one of the duties that we bear is to guard our third eye from even wayward glances that may bear evil. Besides, Sarah hesitates for a few seconds and looks away. I am aware that lesser servants of the Imperium may find our appearance repulsive. The navigator gene twists the features the rabble are used to seeing, and the magnificence of our role cannot be grasped by their feeble minds. Of course, I'm a rogue trader, I don't have to obey the law. It does feel like to guide a vessel through the warp. It may be difficult to describe, you see, every navigator perceives the warp differently. My mentor, Regent Aronoto, always described his travels through the Materium as a journey through a vast wood, with countless paths, and I assisted him in the first voyages. Fiercely tried to follow his example, but the wood would not reveal itself to me. But everything changed when I found my own key to this mystery. You see, I've always brightened up my rare moments of leisure time by painting. You may recall there was a workshop in my chambers as soon as I entered the warp, as a blank canvas. An indescribable feeling came over me. I moved the brush, going deeper and deeper into my own painting. Visions were hidden within the vibrant colours of my palette, and something inside me knew which should be brought out and which should be left behind. I woke up several days later after the voyage was safely completed. I noticed that your another painting is reflected in your speech as well. You associate so many images with hues and colours. The Emperor graced me with a gift. I can see inner life in addition to the mundane. You cannot know that a fruit is rotten from the inside until the blade slices it in two. I can see the rot from far away. It rolls like swamp mud oozing from the white head. Anger, boredom, sadness, and joy, everything people shut away inside themselves, is revealed to me like colours on the canvas of my world. Why don't we talk about the semi-caps? Tell me about the house. Law Imperium successful. As the voice of our family on this vessel, it is an honour. As long as your questions are courteous, I will answer every one of them. Is it a Celio prophecy system named after your ancestor? Skill check. You are shrewd indeed. My ancestors charted the route while fleeing from the enemies of humanity. They say the Emperor himself was his guide, because the warp expelled their vessel without a single loss. Xia hesitates and then adds quietly, unfortunately, the lips of those who relate this tale seep with disgusting green hubris. I think Kaelin or Alessia was simply a skilled navigator. Has a rich history. Oh yes, navigators of the house. Cronus expanded fairly recently. Mere 280 years ago. Before that, our ancestors expanded the borders of humankind's dominion to the glory of the Emperor, blazing trail to different corners of the galaxy. Who rules the house? Just as a rogue trader stands at the head of the trade empire, a novator heads a navigator house. It is the novator who decides where to look for alliances and which path their bloodlines is destined to read. As for our house, the young woman pursues her lips slightly. The transfer of power to a successor is currently underway. In the meantime, Regent Arento of Celio is ensuring stability of the house. Wait a minute. The navigators on the station were hesitant to let you go, and there was a renegade soldier of demise. Surely you cannot be Novator's successor. But she is. So says Regent Arento. Nothing is decided yet. Some people in the house become enshrouded in mold and grey clouds at the thought of me becoming another Novator. But even more bound with dull leaden chains, they think I am not ready for such a role. Probably not. Your mission, Sonicus, please. What does your sight reveal? Eerie, engulfed in clouds, the colour of dark, and carried an old pain and doubt. As it entranced, as it reaches for your shoulder, the tips of fingers, a strange feeling of relief comes over you, as if your lungs are fully opened. Allowing you to take a deep breath for the first time in ages, the young woman notices your expression and jerks away, frightened. I beg forgiveness for my inappropriate behaviour, rogue trader. When I see such impressive colours, I immediately want to paint them in a different hue. To disperse them, I already mentioned that I cannot control it except this time. I thought I would be able to, for whatever reason. There is no need to apologise. You mastered the power in order to aid another. To aid me, I am grateful. Oh. Fuck, that's a lot of people. But yeah, did we talk to Vergis? I can't remember. We've spoken to many people. Remind me of who you are. Who are you? That's a woman? Okay. The thin pale woman stands head and shoulders above the rest of the crew. There's a thick bond of gills coming out of the back of her skull, disappearing under the ceremonial garment. You see the grate of quietly humming vox where her mouth should be. The woman sees you and bows her head in respectful greeting. How may I serve you, Lord Captain? Remind me who you are. Voxmaster, Octavius Fidrus Siriota of the Ptolemaic dynasty and the current Voxmaster serving aboard your vessel. In accordance with the Seneschal's orders, I assume this duty immediately upon the demise of the esteemed Voxmaster, Septimus, who was my grandfather. What are my Voxmaster's duties? I am the ears and the voices of this void ship. I supervise 7 dozen officers and 3 times that number of support personnel. We receive, send, encrypt and decode all incoming and outgoing messages from the ship's internal and external channels. We also ensure clean communication and optimal efficiency of the Voxcasters. Cool. If you ever want to know what worries and concerns you are harbouring, which your subjects are whispering about the local networks after their shifts and what their leaders are clamouring about, with a shortwave Vox transmission, just come and see me. I will satisfy your curiosity. Have the Vox spirits brought you anything interesting? There is unrest in the lower decks, Lord Captain. The guards are actively looking for rebel rousers and heretics, but the population is extremely unhappy with the harsh treatment. Many are cursing Elblad, whose signatures mark the orders and in whose name the oppression is being committed. You may be interested to know that a group of officers was discussing a grim rumour over lunch. Word has it the apparition of Lord Captain Theodore has been sighted on board lately. Yes, you heard right. They say she is haunting the decks, dragging wayward crew members off into oblivion. This quiet has spread throughout the ship as the anomaly has been reported in different sectors, sometimes entire kilometres apart. Yeah, these ships are massive. Voxmaster leans close to you. Master Heinrichs von Kaloxix expressed interest in your communication stations and Vox networks a short while ago. The interrogator appears to be very well versed in matters of sacred technology, and it worries me. A man of his knowledge and his line of work is capable of discreetly planting his own devices in our system. We will be vigilant, Lord Captain, but you should try to be more careful as well. Heinrichs, we must watch. Why do you look so strange? My appearance comes from my heritage, where generation after generation people have spent their entire lives deep in the depths of this void ship. Neither we nor our ancestors have ever left our home, but the same can be said about many engines of the Imperium's brilliant world. We are used to the silence of the cosmos, the voices of the ship. There are thousands of us, but we dwell far from the Lord Captain's up decks and remain unseen. We are the void. Where does Voidborn come from? Because we are children born in the void between the stars, it could be the womb of travelling vessels or satellite of forgotten asteroid station. Low gravity voyages through the warp and countless dangers of the space travel. Everything others hate and dread is second nature to us. Tell me about the lives of the Voidborn. To us, the groans and creaks and rounds of the ship sounds away as babbling brooks and singing birds to world dwellers. We hear the ship breathe, know what it is feeling and thinking. We are part of the ship, just like it is part of us. We perform numerous functions in there, many officers among our number. Some maintain order and prevent mutiny, others serve as shepherds and support the crew. Some devote themselves to mending the body and the spirit of the vessel. Most of the Voidborn are members of a large void ship dynasties that bear responsibility for a certain aspect of the ship's life. For 300 years, the main branch of the Ptolemon dynasty has produced the ship's Vox Masters, and most of our subordinates come from a cadet house of the dynasty. Life on ship. Life has been quite generous to me, Lord Captain. I am the Vox Master, and only the best in a dynasty can become one. By virtue of my skills and position, no one has ever denied me anything. Our family claims a spacious section for its demesne. I also enjoy long walks through the narrow and dimly lit corridors of the ship, listening to the sounds of her activity, falling asleep and waking up to the chanting of hymns and admiring the stars beyond our course. How do you get treated? We look, speak, and move differently from the inhabitants of the planetary worlds. Our way of life, traditions, and quirks frighten these people is like the darkness of the cosmos. Many believe us to be bringers of ill fortune. And alas, it is the Voidborn who get the blame for terrible warp phenomena during longer voyages. Bitterness hesitates before continuing. Several years ago, an unfortunate warp jump caused all the food on board to spoil. 15 days later, a hungry and furious crew nearly massacred everyone on the lower decks, blaming us for misfortune, and hoping to restock the larders with our flesh. Ooh. I would have been killed during the mutiny had Idra Talas not shown up at the right place at the right time. She came to my rescue, and the scoundrel's fear of her was even greater than my fear of the Voidborn. Sounds like you and her are friends. Both the tiny wrinkle appeared at the corners of his eyes, the only hint the Vox Master is smiling. The Voidborn seldom make friends, especially among the captain's entourage. But you see, I consider Edward to be different. I am different too. We have spent plenty of time in each other's company discussing regicide over a glass of Lamasac. Except Idra changed up for the one instance, and we started to drift apart with death of Lord Captain. Theodore made her withdraw even more. I don't know if Idra considers me her friend now, but we used to be very, very close. It is good I can still look after her in my own way. Ever left the ship? Oh, I did once. It was dreadful. Felt like the massive blue dome overhead could shatter at any moment in the fall, and fall and my bones be crushed by the gravity. Idris twitches her shoulders, trying to ward off the flood of memories. The ship is my home, Lord Captain. I would not trade it even for the bounty of 100 worlds. Return to business. Fellowship 20. Connect me to the vessel's main channel. I wish to bolster the morale of my crew. Check success. 7 experience. Woohoo! Vox Master nods obediently and presses several switches. Continue. You address the crew with a rousing speech and hear your voice roll through the ship, reaching even the normally quiet corners of the vessel. When the broadcast ends, you hear distant shouts of approval. That'll be it. CRPGs are heavy. Right. Bridge Technomat. So, he's left. So he's an asshole. She's dropping. He's just a good officer. To go. Let's talk about things that may be useful to me as a rogue trader. Shit. A noble aspiration, Lord Captain. I am ready to acquaint you with all the particulars that interest you. Outline the situation at Greenwich expense for me. This is a topic for an official briefing. Fuck it, here we go. It's a casual conversation, but I'll try to answer you succinctly. And if you permit in my own words. Takes a deep breath and begins. Greenwich expense is considerably removed from the heart of the Imperium. This means the local warp routes become useless within months. Established trails are regularly subjected to attack from all kinds of rabble. And in the only major port, Imperial frigates find themselves moored alongside pirate vessels. Until recently, Greenwich expanse could hardly have been called an Imperial region. The situation has changed with the arrival of the Lord Inquisitor. Well, but not by much. This place operates under its own rules, you see, more radical, so to speak, but ones that allow for non-standard approach when there is a promise of victory. The Greenwich expanse is considered rogue trader territory for a reason. Only rogue traders have sufficient military might and audacity, and the rights granted them by the warrant to survive the leap into the unexplored part of the expanse. In an event of successful outcome, to hold on to whatever they manage to capture on the frontier. Who are the main players? In the first instance, you should treat official representatives of the Imperium with respect. The expanse may be on the fringes, but it's still numbered among the territories of the Golden Throne. The arrival of Lord Inquisitor has turned Greenwich expanse into a less wild and uncontrolled region. And to the regret of some individuals grown inured in the local lawlessness. Rogue traders such as themselves are also servants of the Imperium, and accorded special rights and powers, they would wield immense authority within the territory, and they enjoy absolute respect in other parts of the expanse. The most powerful of them are the Gallegos Winterscale, the Incendia, Basto, Trotter. Tread carefully when dealing with evil. Kill them all. Once they're dead, they're dead. If we were to speak of unclaimed territory, which is what Footfall is, among the scum that dwells in a handful of asteroids, there are three factions that will have considerable influence in the sector. The first is the Casablanca mission. Organised crime in its most primitive form, it holds sway over the Liege of Footfall. And has links to rogue trader Winterscale. The second faction is an offshoot of our shining ecclesiarchy, followers of Saint Duras. They are actively building their forces and hold influence over rogue trader Chorda. And finally, the third faction, the Explorators, a wing of the Adeptus Mechanicus. They are willing to die and kill for the secrets of the ancient technology heresies that are hidden among the stars of the Greenwich expanse. Nice. Conrad, our previous Master of Whispers, what can you tell me about his betrayal, and what do you think you'll do next? Well, that's news to me. Albert winces as though from toothache, and he makes no attempt to hide his feeling. You know, Lord Captain, I am no admirer of fine art, but when we next find ourselves in a civilized port, with time to spare, I will promptly find an artist and commission a portrait of the individual to whom you refer, with a hole between the eyes. Conrad Vodka. And that he committed his treachery in the scate of his life is an unforgivable oversight. Albert frowns for a moment. He continues, we both serve Lord Captain Theodora for many years. We never saw eye to eye. He was brash, and he was never afraid of assuming responsibility, and he willingly took on difficult tasks. I am loath to admit it, but the Von Valancius Empire continues to reap the fruits of his labours. To this day, his service always garnered my respect, but everything else about him made me want to wring the neck of that two-faced snake. If you are taking comfort in the thought that we will hear no more from Conrad, prepare to be disappointed. He thwarted his plans, has been meticulously plotted and nurtured treachery. He is sure to attempt to strike at you, and he will use his contacts and knowledge of the trade empire to do so. The only question, Lord Captain, is whether you will be able to anticipate his next steps. We'll see. Tell me more about yourself. I used to be an officer in the Navis Imperialis. What used to be, it's not quite right. I was not simply a job, it was my calling, the essence of my life. I was happy to serve Lord Captain Fyodor, but in my heart and mind I am still an Imperial officer. I met Lord Captain Fyodor on a mission when the Imperial Navy was providing reinforcement to the Rogue Traders' army on one of the frontier worlds. Our acquaintance was not easy. Working with people outside the Navy hierarchy has never been my strong suit. It was to my great surprise then that after the mission's completion I received a referral to leave my service in the Navy and join the Rogue Traders' personal council. It was a difficult choice for me, but I saw the offer a chance to serve the interests of humanity even more effectively than this Imperialist. You do not need me to tell you just how remarkable a person Lord Captain Fyodor was. I recognized her at once as a true leader and formidable creative force, one who has built a trade empire amidst the dangers and wilderness of the Kronos. Can't wait to press number 3. Leaving the Imperial Navy is far from easy. You could say that there was no one among the naval command who was willing to impede the wishes of the Rogue Trader. To do so would be to risk their own position and their relationship with Fyodora. The Lord Captain possesses certain contacts in the Imperial Navy, contacts which he used to request help during the conflict on the World, and which enabled her to make me an offer that resulted in my joining her mission. I don't know what I just pressed there. Coercion check succeeded, I didn't even realise I made one. The Navis Imperialis is an ancient institution with its own mandates and musters. On occasion in the height of the official briefing, I violated those rules determined to press my points. It's challenging to choose the words to accurately express my opinion of the situation or the actions of others. I was not self-overly scaling and confronting. Many in command are inclined to view my manner of speaking as unbefitting my personal rank. Uh-oh. It's your version, he upset people. What appears to have lost the power to speak to Lord Captain. Any allegations of improper feelings or unsanctioned relations are utter baseless and bordering on insulting. He furrows his brows and adds, utterly baseless. That's a lie. Family? He's a widower. I am a widower. I am a father of 4, and if my information is not outdated, a grandfather of 11. Nice. My family lives on Drognas. None of my children express any eagerness or aptitude for serving on board ship. I would hardly have insisted that they follow my footsteps. Do you have any advice? You must become a true rogue trader and reassert control of on trade empire as quickly as possible. So basically be vigilant. Okay, cool. Right. Who the fuck is left? Because we have spoken to everybody so far. Need to talk to a tech priest. We've spoken to them. Bridge officer. Bridge guard. Bridge guard. So, those 2 left. I think that's it. She's a sister of the Adapters Sororitas. Red Trader, you have business with me. I was hoping to have some time alone to pray. Tell me about the Adapt. Dudley, we serve the Emperor and humanity since time immemorial. We fight evil by will of the Holy Ecclesiarchy. I did to interrupt yourself and swords. I beg your pardon, Red Trader. Here I am talking about not every lesser noble in the Imperial knows. What exactly are you interested in hearing about? Fiercest of faith. It is the Sisters of Battle are a fire lit by the Emperor. They are the echo of his voice and that travels through the dark expanses of the universe. We bring his light to the faithful and his warm wrath to heretics, villains and other enemies of humanity. We can heal, inspire, edify, but first and foremost we protect the faithful. From the unholy, the unhallowed, sometimes with words, more often than not with a bolter. Gets the jobs done. Are all sisters truly as faultless as you say? No, they're not. Even the novices of the Dadsort are drawn from among the most worthy. Those who have taken the vows and become fully fledged sisters are the best of the best. Tested by trials of body and spirit, yes. There have been cases where a sister has stumbled or shown weakness, but do not expect to hear a story of depravity or downfall from me. Each such occurrence is a great tragedy for us all. Light cannot bear the smallest speck of darkness within, and thus those who have trespassed or shown weakness of spirit are given a chance at redemption. They are called Sisters Repentia, and maybe the enemy tremble for her, nothing can stop. Wearing nothing but robes, no armour, a chainsword in hand, no sisters who have once found to find repentance on the battlefield. Their lives are seldom won, but a death in the name of purgation is better for fainting to live in shadow of one's soul. And see her turning into a Repentia. It's going to be a martyred lady. Yeah, of course it was the martyred lady. Once I had completed my novitiate, I was sent to the Claxian Brian to the order of our martyred lady. Assigned to the orders. It's a little bit on the line there. The Order's mission is vital and noble. The Sisters want us to protect great relics of the Imperium. We guard them, preserve them, escort them when they are brought onto the battlefield or presented for pilgrims to venerate. And we seek out the relics that have been lost. We know the problem of heretics and which we can definitely to our Sisters Pontus. And their goal is to return a piece of the great legacy of the Imperium to the hands of the faithful. Imperial law. The Order Pronatus is not one of the Order Militants, yet you are a trained fighter. Don't let the name deceive you. The Order Militants train sisters to margins. The battlefield is an army that does not make sisters who belong to non-militant orders less timid and helpless. Both the Solace bringing sisters Hospitaller and the Enlightened Sisters dialogue know how to greet enemies of humanity. Their dialogue with heretics is usually quite short, with the last word being a bolter discharge. And my order has all the more reason to be known for the martial prowess of the Sisters. We are the keepers of Imperial relics. What would become of our blessed hero's legacy if the Sisters Pontus could not protect it? You said you belonged to the Calaxian branch of your order. What brought you to the Cronus Expanse? What, you worked for a rogue trader? Dumb question. The order sent me to Footfall. My duty was to assist the local brotherhood of Dusans in acquiring an old reliquary that had been there since the utmost premises during the station's founders. Any other members? None that I'm aware of, but the sisterhood's orders are many and can operate independently from one another, sending their sisters wherever their presence is needed and is deemed by the Ecclesiarchy, perhaps somewhere in the Lord Inquisitor's retinue. May his path be blessed. My sisters perform their duty as we speak. I wish it was so. Even a single evening spent in joint prayer and training would bring me joy. No more questions. Guild. Exposition. About me, I am the Emperor's daughter and his servant. What else would you want to tell? How'd you end up? My identity's expression of darkness visibly. I first came here when I found myself in need of a passage from Footfall to a greater planet. But I imagine what interests you is not the first journey my lord brought me aboard prior to the pirate attack. That story is complicated. Did just so happens that she stops short. I made a mistake. I had been ambushed by the accursed worshippers of the Arch-Enemy. I was badly wounded. Lady Theodora came to my rescue. I was offered assistance and nursed back to health. It all happened not too long ago. I had barely recovered from my wounds when the pirates struck. Truly servants of evil know no rest. There isn't a place where we can be safe from their machinations. What happened to people who wounded you? Did Theodora's men eliminate them? Sadly, they did not. Lady Theodora was in a hurry and chose not to stay on planet. The people took me to a ship while I was unconscious, and I came to my senses. We were already far away. Oh, how I hope to come face to face with those heretics once more. It's bound to happen someday. You mentioned making a mistake. It happens even to the best of us. My Identity says heatedly, then frowns and nods her head for a moment. My mistakes are my burden to bear. I will find a way to atone for them. Where did this happen? On one of the recently discovered planets in Cronus. No one suspects that they had already been tainted by the filth of heresy. Had I known it beforehand, of course, I would have been on my guard. We could go to that planet and deal with the Chaos Worshippers. Identity's eyes glint. She hesitates, but then shakes her head with a sigh. The path to the planet was lost. All knowledge had gone along with the previous navigator. It would take immense effort and resources to rediscover the route. The heir to the von Valancius Empire must have plenty of other issues to deal with right now. Perhaps later, when the skies above our heads have cleared. It's like travelling on the ship. I hadn't been here that long. Just one journey from Footfall, and the other journey, the majority from which I spent in the confines of the Medbay. I can't tell you much about the first voyage. I am more focused on prayers and rumination and other people around me, or the journey itself. During the last journey, Sensual Messarian stood out for me. He came by several times to ask my health. He's a kind man and a loyal servant of the Imperium. I think he is as meticulous in his inspections of the logistics systems as he is in his inquiries about the health of the occasional sister of battle aboard ship. But not all the fear of have earned my trust. You know who I'm talking about. There's no place for each one. Talis amongst the Imperial faithful. I'm surprised she wasn't in league with the pirates, and I'm equally surprised by how deep heresy and treason run in this place. Dr. Frowson shakes her head. I'm glad we all made it through the dark hour. May the day that follows be bright. What is it that's keeping you about us? The ship was targeted by heretical pirates, which means that my presence here and the assistance I provide to you are my sacred duty. Sooner or later, I'm likely to go back to Footfall to protect what I acquire, but for now, I wish to remain part of the road trip as a crew, if that is to everyone's liking. Go ahead, number one. See, weapon skill is close combat, so why the fuck have I got a marksman's rifle? Can't wait to throw this guy out the airlock. I just don't like him already. The corpulent man in lavish clothes bows before him. It is not easy for him. A service girl is wearing over his shoulder, fingers of his awkward hand, drumming over a pile of papers. And though through the lenses of the magnifying implant gleam an attentive gaze, greetings, your lordship. The January Stoic at your service. Yeah, we're gonna fire you out the airlock. I don't like me. Remind me what you're doing on my ship. My duty as a high factotum involves anything that may enrich you and your trade empire and make your suppliers deliver the goods on time and partners do not shrug their promises. And its servants, remember, the Emperor's grace can only be earned through the toil of the good of the von Valentius dynasty. I also arrange less than thorough inspections of your hold by the Port Customs Office and find buyers for whatever you wish to sell. How do you start serving me? I come from Dragos, your lordship. I have been subject to your dynasty since birth and have always strived to be of use to the great rogue trader. Alas, it was not my fate to be the primary heir of my own family, since being 15th in line for the title. So I decided not to stand in the way of those behind me in case they decided to shorten the waiting list at my expense. Neris gives an almost kindly chuckle. While my brothers and sisters schemed against one another, I studied the exact sciences and mastered bookkeeping, the greatest art of the adaptus administratum. I must admit that the accumulation of wealth, something you can control, is far more exciting than hunting, carousing, and other traditional amusements of my peers. Tell me what working for Fyodor felt like. Work, hopefully. What a tricky question, your lordship. Do not ask everyone under such conditions at risk of losing their head. Should they let slip a careless remark about your relative, let me put it this way. It was never boring and always profitable. The Imperium has billions of subjects, but very few are doing what they like and what they are best suited to. I would say Lady Fyodor was one of the fortunate ones. She was a model rogue trader and surrounded herself with those who excelled at the craft and loved their vocation. Hers was a rare talent indeed. What do you think, people? Keeping tabs on your subordinates, smart move. Tell me who interests you, and I'll try to be as honest as possible. That's pretty interesting. Tell me what you think about Senchal. Lady Fyodora managed to do what even the Imperial Navy could not. Teach Master Rosarian to carry out the orders he fundamentally disagrees with. I do not know what method she used, but the result is impressive. Having said that, there is something else you need to know. Lord Captain, your Senchals can be something far greater than a mere conduit of your will. He had enough cunning and experience to run the trade empire, possibly when Lady Fyodora was away. And this is saying something. Take heed of that old officer, or turn him from a mere servant into a faithful ally. Opinion on Conrad Vodgar, the former Master of Whispers. I hope I will not see him on board, even as a servitor, although he would be able to at least do at least some good that way. Somebody needs to clean the latrines. The Factorium's bloated face grows stern. He gave us all quite a fright on that ill-fated day, Lord Captain, and yet I never enjoyed Master Vodkar's company, but I believed him to be a man who knows to do his job. Regretfully, I was mistaken. It turned out Conrad was missing the most important quality of a Master of Whispers: unwavering loyalty to the rogue trader. Tell me about the Vox. The Voidborn. You know we used creatures like these as a quarry when we were hunting in my family. Mutants are the bane of humanity, an unseen tumour that threatens to end us all. But I digress. I don't like this man. Over the brief time Tom spent in the chair of Voxmars, I did not notice any significant flaws in her character or anything that made me question her professional qualities. Needless to say, she is very diligent. Like any Voidborn that seeks to earn their master's affection, I suppose you can trust her skills and loyalty. What an arsehole. course, Lord Captain. Who interests you exactly? We are commonly dealing with the fellows of St. Joe's, exploratists, the Caspalacio mission, or may the Emperor forgive us, the Fellowship of the Void. The Drosians still hope to bring the Kronos expense into the war with the grace of the faith, just as their flock hopes to receive the aid of missionaries in each crate of food, shield, clothes. A box of medicine is marked with your seal is a sign of a trading himself believes your future success. Reverend Romanus is the first among the heroes, who is most often seen in Footfall's grand atrium. A gloomy fellow, but most believe him to be a living saint. If they probably isn't. Members of the exploratory consignance fleet that have been roaming the Kronos expense for a good while now. Omnisar knows what they're hoping to find, but their acolytes regularly show up on inhabited worlds, seeking bits of secret knowledge, track down mechanical relics, and craving after Xeno artifacts. Truth be told, allegedly they want to save the ignorant rabble from corruption. A tech priest named Opticon 22 is doing business with us on the fleet's behalf. You can be found at the docks of Footfall. The Cas Balaka. What do they want? Masters of the cold trade, immoral criminals and notorious crooks to the last man. The mission is but one branch of the Mafia gang that took root in the Calaxis sector. You can do business with them as long as you take necessary precautions. They are led by Vladian Takara, who recently appointed himself to the in Footfall, of course. He is a trusted ally of rogue trader Winterscale, but he will not refuse you another of the Emperor's anointed. If you feel like talking to Madame, look for him in the largest palace. Jared admits to laugh like a goggle. A pompous name, is it not? In truth, they're just a bunch of pirates who keep squabbling over looting territory. However, some of them, their little flotilla need supplies, or can take uncomfortable cargo off your hands without asking questions. Of course, there's always a risk these scoundrels change their mind and attempt to board you instead, but so far our macro cannons have managed to keep them in line. Say Riza Calavari speaks Felicia on behalf. The Adaptus Damascus on Footfall has rumored to be her favourite haunt. Why are we giving these people stuff? To profit from them, of course. Most of the things you will find during expeditions for someone such as yourself are complete junk, but less fortunate and affluent servants in there. Oh, I think they're treasures. Especially if they are bestowed by the great raid trader himself. Russian fanatics and pirate cutthroats, customer dealers and explorers know who will turn down our help in these dark and trying times. And there may be a time when one's requiring aid, and it will be beneficial to have willing allies provide. But certainly, Lord Captain. Enough questions. I'll come back later. Right, who haven't we talked to? Damn, son. That was... Is that where I need to go? Guessing that's the old captain. Right, so these have to be my quarters. Pretty sure we spoke to him. Spoke to everyone down here. Ah, yeah, we haven't spoken to this fucker. Alright. Tell me more about yourself. Well, I'm usually one of the interesting in the past, those around me not to converse. I come from my native world, Garrison Free, and I belonged to a branch of noble houses until my exceptional abilities were discovered. After that, I was sent on a black ship to Holy Terror, where I was trained and began my services for the glory of the Imperium. He's an Inquisitor. How do you discover your abilities? Like many psychos unaware of their curse, I found out when a strong emotional reaction triggered an evolutionary involuntary response. Eric's falls silent and then sighs erratically continues. My great aunt had a pet grink. One day it bit me and I boiled it from the inside out. The interrogator looks away and adds more quietly, and my great aunt slapped me for what I'd done. I boiled her too. Oh man, it's okay, it's really dangerous. When I worked on Holy Terror, I was tested. I was found to be suitable material for becoming a sanctioned psycho, able to bend his curse at his own will. I can assure you that the adepts of the Astra Telepathica were right in their assessment. Tell me about the black ship. It's a shithole. Hendrix is silent for a long time. You begin to think that an answer will be forthcoming. Picture a vast prison ship filled with frightened, angry psychos who can't control their abilities, and who have just lost their homes and their families. Some of them were children and adolescents like I was. Some were monstrous creatures who no longer had the right to be called humans, or psychopaths who revel in their impure powers. Whenever one of the miscreants broke free, those in command simply depressurized the bay and got rid of the culprits and all the prisoners and crew tainted by him. But even after that, I heard the echo of inhuman suffering and terror that filled that part of this ship. It grieves me to record the people. I call the episode to this day. Sent to the Inquisition. No, first I was recorded the status of psycho fit for service in the Imperial Guard, where I spent several years. It was only afterwards that I became an agent of the Golden Throne. So there's a sanctioned psycho and an Inquisitor. That's... Since day of my initiation as a Marker so decades, who never tries how many real years it's been, it's hard to say. When I return from the journey from the war, I often discover that much more, or much less, as time passed in outer space. Indeed, I have visited many places brought to the Emperor's light, and those sullied by filth of the arch enemy. In truth, even after these years spent visiting the various corners of the Imperium and looking beyond its borders, I still consider the Segment and Solar to be the greatest of all humanity's bastions. Well, yeah, you can't get close to it. Nothing compares to the majesty of Holy Terror, the might of Mars, and the grandeur of the Segment's other worlds. Duties! You can't really expect me to answer that, or no. He's a biomancer. It's a dangerous one. Lord Inquisitor's entourage comprised of dozen people, the best things. Oh, he's an interrogator. Not a nice man. Edric's gaze becomes pensive as he seems to look through you to something beyond. To be honest, I'm not even certain that the people I know are still alive. I used to work with other followers of the Lord Inquisitor, but the Kronos expanses I've been working alone. If you're an interrogator, does it mean you hold a special position? Usually. We are not arresting you, Great Trader, we are followers. As for your question, I'm closer than anyone else to the one I call my personal teacher, the Lord Inquisitor, deemed it worthy of undertaking the most important and sensitive tasks requiring the attention of the Ancient of the Golden Throne. Acolytes in close. Interrogator narrows his eyes at you and releases a disappointed sigh. After several seconds of silence, you realise that you will not be getting an answer. We'll discuss the cult to the final dawn. No idea who these are? The cult's ordinary members are humans who have been corrupted by the Archer, traitors to the Imperium and accomplices of chaos. Participation in cult rituals already entitles brainwashing, literally and figuratively. The longer cult members spend among other cultists, the less critically they think, and the more closely they resemble obedient livestock stripped of their fear and instinct for self-preservation. The worst of them go to their deaths without an inkling of doubt, ready to take hundreds of thousands of souls with them. Nice. As for those at the top, we have not yet managed to get a lead on all the cult leaders. I imagine that some of them are hiding in the depths at the Coroner's expense, but those who are orchestrating the fanatics on nearby worlds are hiding very well indeed, or receiving protection from above. I need to confirm the reports of my agents. According to one of the cult's leaders is in Kavana campus segment. An industrial world within the domain of the von Valancius dynasty. I hope you won't impede my investigation. Governor's Commander's rogue trader's history is full of those who neglect their duty to the Golden Throne. Bop. We discovered Flint's traces since we arrived. Since then the more we learn, the better we see just how far the roots of the blight extend. Destroying individual cells is pointless. We must cut the head of the beast. Standard is quote. As you wish. What can you do as a psycho? Tempting. The Lord Inquisitor was most insistent I master the disciplines of the sanctity demonology. I use my faith and my power to crush the enemies of the Imperium. Sons of chaos tremble at the sound of the Emperor's name, but by my lips I'm also a skilled biomancer. I manipulate body processes sometimes. Sometimes I resort to those skills in the course of my work when it is necessary to make a subject. Yeah, I have to go. Bye bye. Cool, right now I'm just spoken to fucking everybody. Right, so we are here. So I just have this giant space map to fly around in. Fuck it. That's a space wolf. That's a pathfinder. Sister battle, biomonster, elder, dark elder. Coming incognito, how comes everyone fucking knows I'm here? Doing a very good job there, love. Standing there cheering as I walk on the fucking door. Your Lordship, forgive me for not welcoming you with the appropriate obstinance. We were told that you would prefer to arrive into blah blah blah. I'm here on behalf of the Legion Football of Tottenham League and waits a chance to speak with you at his residence, but if you happen to have other business to attend to, I can serve as your guide and tell you about the station. Here's the curse, like it's just so familiar. Behind that amber-coloured scattering of words of welcome, far less appealing hues lurk, mucky and diluted, the look of someone accustomed to lying and hiding their intentions. Nice. Ida jerks her head, shakes it, and hisses through her teeth. Someone's coming, and they're coming for us. Watch out, Lord Captain. Albert sighs and casually places his hand on his weapon. Judging by the voices, there's lots of them angry, and they've got teeth, but they aren't that sharp. Their strength is in their numbers. Continue. Pray, what are you talking about? What could you mean by such cryptic pronunciation? She doesn't get to say the rest.
I won't heed your cries of mercy. My ears are ringing.
Wow. Do I get a turn? Here we go. So you're who I have control of. What can you do? Power swing, critical strike, charge.
It will be done. I will do my duty. It will be done.
Wow. That probably wasn't a good idea.
Indeed.
Turn.
Brace yourself, Abelard.
Reading damage to bulk.
Pain and duty go hand in hand.
I am wondering if I'm actually going to get a fucking turn at this point.
Why did I not foresee this?
Suits my purposes. Absolutely not. I'll pass. Not my specialty. Absolutely not. Already done.
I'm so further away with the express power. What would be becoming stuff down moving to all outputs?
Me? If you insist, Lord Captain. Do not dare ask. I'm not accustomed to being ordered around.
I'm not so sure. But of course, be gone!
I mean, I'm kind of hoping this is a fight I'm supposed to lose, because this is stupid.
battle! I'll do it.
Nice, but you missed everything.
That is not the Emperor's will. I need targets, not guidance. I will bathe this battlefield in righteous fury. As the Emperor commands, I act. I'll do it. Strike is a prayer.
At your beck and call. That's not the Seneschal's job. Someone else can do this. I'm not interested. I will do my duty. It will be done.
Twice now I've fucked up his turn. Well, I'm about to die.
Just a minor setback. Nothing I can't.
Rookie! Down!
I don't have time for this. Not a problem for me.
Step aside. The navigator is coming. That is foolishness. I'm afraid not. I am a navigator, not a servitor. If only that were possible.
Not my specialty. All too easy. recognition.
Well, I'm just gonna go
Running binary code.
pretty east.
High momentum.
Doubt is for the weak. None can escape the Emperor's judgment. In thy light I stand, and thy light I crave. I'll do it. As the Emperor commands, I act. Faith without deed is worthless. Doubt is for the weak. As the Emperor commands, I act. Is why I was chosen. I refuse. I'll do it. I need targets, not guidance.
Turn to mount. Right, this guy needs to just fucking come back.
Tried and tested tactics are the best ones.
He's about to try.
Victory is imminent. I'd rather not. At your beck and call. Follow my lead. Someone else can do this. Already done. Absolutely not. Not my specialty. Suits my purposes.
Me. If you insist, Captain.
too far away.
Isn't this a job for the serfs? That is foolishness. Do not dare ask.
She's about to get mashed.
Emperor, deliver us! This is just too much for me.
Request approved.
Really?
The order is contrary to diplomatic protocols. My competences are not that universal. The scriptural prognosis is favorable.
As the Emperor commands, I act. Faith without deeds is worthless. As the Emperor commands, I act. Doubt is for the weak. I'll do it. I need targets, not guidance. This is unacceptable. Deliver us.
Another one is down? Sir,
That's not the Seneschal's job. I've seen worse battles than this in my time. It will be done. I'd rather not. I'm not interested. I will do like you do. That's not the Seneschal's job. Someone else can do this. I'm not interested.
never wavered in the face of adversity. Nothing I can't do. I don't have time for this. Absolutely not. Not my specialty. Not a problem for me.
accustomed to being ordered around.
See, we did that on purpose.
I am a navigator, not a servitor. I'm afraid not. That is foolishness, if I may. Do not dare ask.
Activate calculated fury algorithm.
I can see bright colors again.
My vow is to serve.
This guy's useless. Here's Miss.
Dead yet! I hope to meet the same end. Nothing I can't do.
Me? If you insist, Lord Captain.
High momentum.
It's more warning. Feel like your man who took care of the attackers. Do you know who they were? Probably not. You're not sure those guys were Ambers. They're a gang. They're the worst. I'm telling you. They're scared of no one, not even Liege Vladik. It's nice to smell. I expect some more bandits to appear. Does this kind of thing happen often? Shootings? Yes. Attacks on nobles? Not very often. Let's see. The Ambers. They're vicious. Not a week goes by without them killing and guiding somebody. They're wicked heretics. They respect nothing. They follow no rules. Go and report this to the Liege. Yes, I'm sorry, Lord. I just go report to the Liege. They killed her. They killed my lady. Oh, this is terrible. Well, at least he didn't die. That was my biggest fear there. Wow.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
What? I mean,
Victory awaits! None shall stand in my way. A new challenge for me?
This unit is defined as Logis Opticon 22 and is fully authorized representative to start your part of the Conscious Fleet and the Brotherhood of the Adeptus Mechanicus access. It has been granted to the following options: information exchange, strengthening of diplomatic links, trade deals, and relations. Initiating official greetings procedure for esteemed high-value visitors. Glory, success to House of Von Valencius. Bind area begins to flow from a scratched box attached to text priest chests. Requesting information exchange regarding contractual obligations, Logis staff theatre. Received it and then didn't pay a compensate room rate. Says that counts. Should I go on or is it enough synonyms? Settings of payments. Waited 30 years to pay up. Execution of payment received according to specifications and contractual obligations. Allocation of assets from the holdings of the size fleets was initiated when the tankers reached the main squadron. 14.905 turn cycles after the initial transaction. Assets allocation process concluded. 2.66 turn cycles later. Took a while. Right, you know what? I am going to stop there because we've been playing this 2.5 hours. It's 10 o'clock. I'm enjoying it, but I need a break. So I will catch people later. Yeah, I'm liking this. It's been a while since I played a decent JRPG. I know it's only the alpha, but so far so good. I'll catch everyone later.